95.3 WBCK now presents Coach's Corner. For over 6 decades, this has been your number one source for all local sports information. Coach's Corner is proudly presented by Lakeview Ford. Lakeview Ford, where community matters. Now, here's your host, Jack McCulley.
And good morning and welcome to Coach's Corner, broadcasting down on the Motor Mile in Battle Creek inside the showroom here at Lakeview Ford Lincoln, where community matters. I'm your host, Michael Miller, this week. Today's show will focus on the junior varsity football programs here in our local community and their coaches. Great opportunity to sit down and get to hear about their season, discuss their team's results this year. Additionally, coming up as we now start the month of November, we will have 2 more Coach's Corner shows after this one today, and will not be airing a show on Thanksgiving weekend. Jack McCulley was putting together the final touches on his show next week on November 12th. And then on the following week, November 19th, I'll be presenting a special feature on Springfield High School. Springfield officially closed in 1990. And I'm excited to get a chance to speak with former Rams coaches there. The Coach's Corner scoreboard summary is sponsored in part by Lakeview Ford and Sweetwater Donuts. This week, the district volleyball playoffs began, and Thursday night, Lakeview hosted Harper Creek in Division I competition. The Spartans were up to the challenge as Lakeview defeated Harper Creek 3-0 in front of an enthusiastic crowd at Lakeview High School. Lakeview won 25-15, 25-13, 25-19 to advance to the district finals, where the Spartans will face Jackson Northwest today at 11 a.m. at Lakeview High School. And other Division I district volleyball, Gull Lake defeated Mattawan 3-2 in the finals to win their district title at Stevensville Lakeshore. The Blue Devils had swept Kalamazoo Central on Wednesday to advance. Gull Lake advances to and will host a Division I regional on Tuesday, where the Blue Devils will play the winner of Sturgis and Portage Northern, coming out of the Portage Northern District. In Division II, Marshall is trying to win its 6th district in a row. They knocked off Penfield in a semi-final on Thursday. The state-ranked Redhawks will see Parma Western in the district championship match at Parchment at 11 a.m. today. In Division III, Bronson defeated Centerville 3-1 to take the championship title at this district. In Constantine, the Vikings advanced to a Division III regional at Coloma and will see Kalamazoo Christian on Tuesday. In Division IV, defending state champions, St. Philip won its 21st straight district title, sweeping Calhoun Christian 25-15, 25-13, 25-16 in a Division IV tourney. Hosted by St. Phil, the number 7 ranked Tigers advanced to a regional at Bellevue and will play Tuesday against the winner of number 10 Hillsdale Academy and Camden Frontier. That will wrap up the Coach's Corner scoreboard summary for this week. We'll be right back with one of our first guest coaches right after this break. We thank you for listening to Coach's Corner here on WBCK.
Coach's Corner on WBCK, brought to you by Lakeview Ford, where community matters. Now back to the show.
And welcome back to Coach's Corner, brought to you by Lakeview Ford, where community matters. A couple of announcements of noteworthiness today for our other broadcast on air. Michigan is at Rutgers tonight. Michigan State plays Illinois this afternoon at 3:30. George Blaha has the MSU call here on 95.3 WBCK. At Lawson Ice Arena last night, Western Michigan beat up Miami 7-1. They'll play again tonight. Western's football team is playing the weekday schedule now. They'll host Northern Illinois Wednesday evening at Waldo. Okay, this week we are meeting with the JV coaches of our local high school teams, and our first guest coach this morning hails from the Penfield program. I'd like to introduce Chris Locke. Good morning, Coach Locke.
How we doing?
Good, sir. I didn't get a lot of time to talk to you in advance, but just before we came on air, I got to find out you're a former Panther, which I'm sure most former Panthers are aware of you, but great to know that you're still connected with the program and contributing in athletics. And at this point, I'd like to have you kind of give us a little bit of a recap of how your JV season went, and we'll go from there.
It was kind of a long season for us. We didn't have a freshman program this year because the numbers were pretty low. So I think out of the I think we started with 24 kids, and 17 of them were freshmen. So, going into that schedule, it was pretty much a freshman team playing JV kids, so the speed of them for the kids was a little bit different, coming from rocket football and jumping right into that. A lot of times we might usually move up maybe 4 kids, 5 kids at the most up to the JV as freshmen. So kind of throwing them into the wolves, was kind of a bit of a shock for some of them. But throughout the season, you could really tell that they started to pick up on it, I mean, we had a freshman running back, Drayshawn Bailey. I think he had 3 games over 200 yards rushing,
Awesome.
We even moved him up to 2 varsity games because of the 5th quarter rule, and I think against Coldwater, the, 4th quarter last drive, he had the kick return, and then I think he had 5 carries that pretty much took him 70 yards to score a touchdown in this one varsity game. So,
awesome.
Moving ahead with quite a few of these kids, they could be pretty good.
Yeah. Well, and I'm not that proficient on understanding that 5-quarter rule. Can you provide a little bit of
the kids can play
of that?
Throughout the week. So, like, for any of the kids that play JV, we can play them whole game.
Okay.
And then we can move them up Friday night, and they can play 1 quarter. Or, we can play them for a half, because there's a kid, Alex Lutgren, he's a sophomore, and he pretty much played guard or tackle for us. We would play him in the first half of the JV games, and he could still get half a game or 3 quarters on Friday night.
Awesome.
And then it goes the same way for juniors on the varsity. If they're not getting playing time or only playing a quarter on varsity, getting in the 4th quarter, we can bring them down to JV and play them pretty much for a game or, however many other quarters, coincides with what they can play the next night. So
let me ask you this too, because I don't know the answer. With the respect to a quarter, are they committed to play like a full quarter of play?
Yeah, so I mean, once they get in, that's considered their quarter. So once we get them in, it's pretty much we're going to take advantage of it. We're not just going to throw a kid in on a kick, a special team, and then not use them for the rest of the quarter. If we're going to throw them in, we're going to use them for for that quarter. Okay. So,
who else is on the coaching staff with you there at Penfield?
So Jason Livingood, he calls the defense for the JV. Like I said, we split our practices up so everybody's with the same kids. Our offensive coaches are with varsity half practice, and then we're with the JV kids the other half, vice versa with the defense. So, we're really working with both teams every day in practice. So once it comes to the game time, everybody's used to being with their positions. So
yeah, and we talked just a little bit as well, and everyone knows it was a little tough year at the varsity level for Penfield in terms of wins and losses, but again, faced some younger players on the staff.
Oh, for sure.
But having a chance to come down here, I'll say every week, but every other week, and keep an eye on the progression. Tough in terms of the outcome, but you could see the progression, if you will, not always in the score, but just in getting a chance to talk to Coach Clothier. So the kids, really hung in there, like he said. Sometimes you guys, got beat pretty good, but the effort was always there.
And like I said, we're pretty young. I'm sure he's talked about it. I think offensively, we only started maybe 3 seniors. After the 3rd game, Brendan Campbell came up as a sophomore and put him at quarterback, so he kind of got thrown in there, and hopefully that helps out. The big thing is getting kids in the off season to come in, because a lot of the kids, and it's not always really on the kids, we got to get the parents to really buy in on it too, because, the off season stuff isn't mandatory.
Right.
And it's kind of gotten to the point where if it's not mandatory, they don't want to come in.
Gotcha.
So and it gets a little frustrating because, I'm there 3 days a week in the morning at 6 o'clock in the morning. Then we've got after school sessions, and I've told the kids, because we've got, between 5 and 10 kids that really want to be there at 6 o'clock in the morning, which is great. But, it kind of gets frustrating when you get in there and 2 kids show up.
Yes.
Especially when I think this is the first year ever at Penfield where there is not one teacher that's on the coaching staff. In the past, the majority of the staff has been teachers. So, everybody else is working other jobs, going there and coming back. So,
correct.
It makes it a little difficult, when you don't have kids or coaches that have a presence in the school with kids.
On site, yep.
So I think that makes it a little bit challenging as well.
Certainly, and it sounds like you guys had to dip into some of your creativity in terms of coaching this year with call-ups of sophomores that got experience up on the varsity, but then that depletes the roster size for your JV and maybe players that you thought, okay, we're going to have him at quarterback or this play in an alignment, and they're gone, and you're like, okay, but down at that level, it's certainly it's for the love of the game and for the teaching of the kids coming up to into the varsity. So
that was something that we talked about too. I mean, do we keep the kids down on the JV and let them get their reps, or even let them take their lumps on varsity? Get them ready for the next year. I mean, pretty much going into the season, we knew it was going to be tough. So, it's the same thing for next year. Do we move all these kids that played on the JV as freshmen and sophomores up, or do we keep them there on the JV for another year and let them get their maybe try to get some wins in the at that level and move them up, or get them up next year and have the same thing as what happened this year, take their lumps and get them ready. But,
right.
So that's something that we're really going to have to, it's what happens in the off season. How many of these kids commit and get in the weight room, or, get into other sports? Cause that's a lot of things now too. Not too many kids.
Yeah. A lot
are doing
of choices.
Multiple sports anymore.
Yes. Conflicting schedules in that regard, if you will, and then the weight room and the commitment time, 6 a.m. in the morning,
for sure.
That doesn't sound fun, but boy, if you can go through it and get to the point where you're getting the payoffs, that's, because you can't do it August 7th before first practice on the 8th.
You're not automatically going to be in shape and ready to go if you're not doing it. Yeah, for sure.
Right. Anything else you'd like to share on the Penfield JV season? Thank yous or anybody out there?
A lot of the parents really helped out this year, and it kept some of the kids, because, it's frustrating, when you're not winning a lot of games. So, we had 3 wins, 2 wins on the season for the JV. So it's, nobody quit. I mean, eligibility issues this year wasn't even there. I mean, we had a lot of, in the past, we've had issues with eligibility, and this year was actually a great year. I think we might have one kid that was ineligible for a week.
That's awesome.
So that's a big step compared to what we've had in the past. So
and Coach
that's
Clothier
awesome.
Spoke of the continuity and the good natured of the kids in the locker room on all levels. But
for sure.
When times are tough, that can be one of those fraying moments where things start to splinter. And he said that didn't happen. So that's probably another testament to the coaching staff there at Penfield.
I mean, I can remember years, when we only lost 1 or 2 games and kids were pissed off.
Yes,
and,
they're done.
And, so when you see us going 0-9 and you don't see kids in practice like giving up on it, they're still there and they're still putting it in.
There you go.
So that's a good sign.
Well, let's hope the off season does turn around. We get some committed participation and keep the momentum going there at Penfield, and we'll see what next year brings. We certainly appreciate you stopping by this morning.
For sure, I appreciate it.
All right, we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back with probably 2 coaches after that. And we thank you for listening to Coach's Corner here on WBCK.
Coach's Corner on 95.3 WBCK. Proudly brought to you by Lakeview Ford, where community matters. Here's Coach's Corner.
And welcome back to the show. Our next coach is from the Lakeview Spartan program, Carl Schaefer. Good morning, Coach Schaefer.
Good morning.
Appreciate you stopping in. Before we dive into some of the details of the team, we'll just provide a little bit of a bio that I just picked up from you, so thank you for sharing. You're currently teaching at the High School Industrial Tech. You're from Leslie, and you've spent some coaching time as well over there on the Scottville side, which is on the west side by Ludington.
Yep.
And this is your first year with the Spartan program?
It is. First
Awesome.
year in the football program at Lakeview.
Okay. First of all, how did the season go? If you want to recap that, wins and losses, which aren't everything, but I don't know how the season went. So how would you?
It was a typical kind of JV season. We had some ups and downs. We ended up 2-7, which was not ideal, but we had a good group of kids. Our freshman team ended up 5-4, and so they were a good group too. And throughout the year, we had to combine quite a bit. We were, with freshmen and JV. If a different school didn't have a freshman team, our freshman team would come up and play with our JV team. So it was a little bit of a fluid situation all year.
Okay.
And but our kids handled it real well. I mean, it was a lot of fun, and the kids stayed together regardless of wins and losses. And our whole philosophy on JV is we're going to try to get you ready for the varsity. We're going to have some fun. We're going to teach you the sport of football. We're going to teach you the technique, and we're not going to worry about the scoreboard quite as much as the varsity does.
Yep. Real quick, can you touch on who that freshman coach or some of the coaches on the freshman staff?
Yep. So there was Cam Gillette, who's an old player at Lakeview, Zach Brower, who's also an old player at Lakeview, and then Jeff Kaharchik.
Oh.
And he has a couple kids on the teams, Zach and Jake.
Yes.
You might have heard of them.
Yes. Yeah. Well, that sounds like great. Who else is on your JV staff then?
Yep. So I had, it was just me and Josh Woody, and his brother, actually, Josh's brother, coaches in the middle school. So I think that's kind of how Josh got hooked up with Lakeview. So it was just him and I, and then one of the parents kind of helped us out a little bit, Robbie Robertson. I'd like to thank him. He was filming for us and helped us out in practice. And one of the parents that really just kind of stepped up was really nice.
Awesome. What the sub-varsity coaching staff on Friday nights with the varsity, do you guys also blend in and work in the booth or do things on the field, on the bench? What's kind of some of the roles for the few sub-varsity coaches on game night Friday?
Yep. So we're on the sidelines. Most of us are on the sidelines, just kind of watching, trying to help out as best we can. The varsity coaches are on the mics with each other, and so the JV guys and the freshman guys are just kind of on the sidelines watching. Now, some of the freshmen and JV, we can go up in the box too if we want to.
Okay.
And that's totally fine. And, we're just kind of looking for things that our varsity coaches have told us, this is something we want you to look out for. Just if you see it, let us know.
Gotcha.
That type of thing. So we're just looking out for little things like that.
And with Josh and yourself, did you guys split duties as far as one was more the offensive caller or coordinator?
Yeah. So I did the offense this year, and Josh did the defense.
Okay.
And so that's kind of how that ran. And when we combined with the freshmen, we just kind of tag teamed it. It was a little bit of everybody kind of helping out. So there's 5 of us. It was a little bit crazy at times. But it was, like I said, it was a lot of fun. The kids stuck together throughout all of it. They were getting thrown up to varsity. Some were coming down. Some juniors came down. Some sophomores went up. And some sophomores would come down for 2 quarters, and some freshmen would come up for a quarter. And so it's really kind of a crazy thing. This 5-quarter rule is new to me, and so that was kind of a learning experience.
Typically, in that decision-making process to utilize the 5-quarter, is that, not to ask for trade secrets, but is that something you guys try to plan like over the weekend, getting ready for the week, or does that sometimes become a fluid thing?
This year it was a fluid thing. Okay. I mean, I'd like it to be more of a set in stone thing, obviously, but it's hard, because JV and freshmen play before the varsity, so it's hard to bring down a varsity kid, because you don't know, right? You just don't know if that kid's going to get hurt. You don't know if their varsity the varsity team's going to need that kid,
right?
So, it's a bit of a fluid situation, and, like I said, it worked out fine. It was fine.
Awesome.
So.
Well, I'm wanting you to now take a quick little glance at your notes there, and let's, some noteworthy mentions of people of interest or stats, whatever you may have. The floor is yours.
Well, I'd like to, throw out some names of kids that we should be looking out for next year on the varsity, especially from the JV team. We got some guys that could really help the varsity next year. Names like Joels Johnson, who's going to be a lineman, could be very good. Jackson Hardy, our tight end for JV, was really good. Trevor White, you've probably heard the White name.
Yep.
He's got some brothers that played, and he ended up getting hurt for us this year, halfway through the year. So it's kind of a bummer, but he was a really good player. Like I said, A.J. Robertson, Robbie's son, is going to be a good player. And then, you got guys like Zach Rogers and Mike Washington and Ace and Hawks that we got to keep an eye on that could be really, really good as well. And then from the freshman team, there's guys that if they commit to it, they could get up and be on the varsity next year, if they stay in the weight room and really commit to it. Guys like Izzy Gomez and Austin Wildermuth. Jeremiah Adams and Dakota Blowers and Jameer Boykins and Caleb McCune are guys that could really help the varsity next year if they, commit to the football program.
It's all about trying to get that off-season commitment and that strength training, and just because you cannot show up on August 7th, before August 8th for a day of practice and expect you've got to put all that work in well before.
That's been our message. You know, that's been our message is just, commit to it and have fun with it, man. That's the whole thing that we're trying to teach is have fun with football.
It's that process, isn't it? You know, sometimes we focus on that destination of where we're going and we lose track, or it's easy to maybe lose sight of that day-to-day stuff. And 2-7, you go, whatever, but we talked about that. You could be 7-2 at this point. Right. It's about developing those younger players so they're prepared to contribute at the varsity level.
Yep, and they were 0-9 last year, so they got a taste of victory this year. We're hoping that kind of excites them, gets them ready, and really kind of moves the program, keeps the program moving forward. It's a great group of kids. I can't stress enough how good our kids were. I mean, there was no infighting amongst them. Even when times were tough, man, they stayed together, and they were just a really tight-knit group.
Awesome.
Good family, tight-knit group of kids. That's great. It was awesome.
That's great. And Coach DiOrio, as he's heading out, he's leaving, not maybe just him leaving, but there's still plenty of well-stocked, good contributors at the varsity level. So you pipeline in a couple of more this next year coming off the JV. Lakeview should be.
We should be fine. The JV or the junior class is a little bit small in numbers, but their talent is there. I mean, they have talented kids, and so we got some JV guys coming up that are going to help, and we're hoping some of these freshman kids can come up and help. So we're hoping. I mean, the future looks good. The future looks good, and we're excited. Whoever is going to come in and be the varsity head coach, man, we are, all of us, we're excited to.
It's a good situation to enter, yes. And that sounds great. Coach Schaefer, so much thanks and appreciation for you to take time out to come down here and discuss that program. Best of luck to you guys, and let's hope you get that solid contribution in off-season workouts.
All right. Thank you, sir. I appreciate the time.
Yeah, and we'll be back here on Coach's Corner right after this break.
Coach's Corner on WBCK, brought to you by Lakeview Ford, where community matters. Now back to the show.
And welcome back to the show here on Coach's Corner. Our next guest coach from St. Phil is Coach Tom Reed. Good morning, Coach Reed.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, appreciate you stopping down. Today, St. Phil does not have a JV, so this is actually the representation of the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade team. First of all, Coach Reed, I'm not familiar with anybody else on your staff. Can you give us a little background on who else is on the staff?
Yeah, we have Coach Tyler. We took over the program last year for Coach P down at Coach Passetti down at for the varsity, and we've had the pleasure of sending some great kids to him each year, and this year was no exception. We started with a 2-week football camp early to get them in shape, and worked pretty well. We had a taste of victory this year, and as you know, 6th, 7th, 8th grade, it's about getting those fundamentals in there, make sure they don't get hurt.
Yes.
So big shout out to Coach Tyler for helping me get that done this year. So we added a football camp at the beginning.
Awesome.
And we went 1-5 this year.
Okay.
So not too bad. We got that taste of victory, but yet our kids know that they've got a long way to grow and be pretty good. Big shout out to our AD, Vicki Grope, for all her help this year, and Katie Reed for her help this year. She throws in a lot of time and hours. Matter of fact, both the Katies there at St. Joe Middle School for getting those kids ready to go and intelligently moving forward. So we appreciate that. So it was a good year. We've got some good kids going up. We've got about 6 8th graders going up, and from Isaiah Gray to Lightfoot, and Lightfoot was our quarterback this year. Did a heck of a job. We've got some 7th graders going to move up into leadership. I've got a heck of a starting receiver. I've got a kid that can actually punt. 45 to 60 yards, depending on the wind change.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
There's a weapon.
And we actually have a field goal kicker this year. So
great.
Did about a 35-yarder.
That's awesome.
So not too bad at all. So I know Coach Passetti would be pretty excited to get his hands on some of these guys.
Yeah.
So, but
Yeah, it's been a little bit of a challenge on the roster size at the varsity level, but anytime you are able to develop and send up, you're fortunate to have some good quality athletic kids and get them coached up right. That can only help.
Absolutely. That's our biggest goal right now is to make sure that they keep the love of the game, they keep moving up. They've got the fundamentals to be helpful and be a tool and asset to the varsity, and we'll keep doing that. This year we had 13 kids.
Okay.
Next year we'd like to get up to 16 to 20, you know.
Get the pipeline started
Absolutely.
a little bit again and, get some positive momentum going there.
Yeah, so we had some great kids from Calhoun County Christian that play with us.
Okay.
And, so it's been a great opportunity for both sides of those kids to play some ball.
Yeah. Well, certainly appreciate you stopping by to give us that recap, Coach Reed. Best of luck in the off season and going into next year, sir.
We look forward to it. Thank you.
Coach Quick. And we're going to do a coach's change on the fly from Harper Creek, a.k.a. a line change in hockey. The JV coach at Harper Creek, Larry Quick. Good morning, Coach Quick.
Good morning.
Whew. If we've got time, I see you brought your trusty sidekick from the freshman program, Alex Nikolic, so we may get him on as well. We appreciate you guys stopping down, but I'll let you jump right into it if you could, sir. Tell us a little bit of who else is on your staff, a little bit of season recap, and some names you'd like to mention.
Sure. Start out by saying Ken Horton and Brian Eiler and myself have been together for 4 years. We're like brothers. This year we had Michael Van Sickle on our staff as well. We seem to have a good thing going. We ended up 7-1-1 this year.
Awesome.
It was a fun time. We had like 30 kids in our program at the JV level, and throughout the season there ended up being a total of 11 sophomores that got moved up to varsity. Varsity started with 3 of those sophomores, but then through the season, 8 more would go up, which is always a challenge for us to fill those spots.
Right.
And we coached hard, and the kids responded, and a lot of those kids that wouldn't normally get a lot of playing time started getting a whole lot of playing time. And it was a fun season. It was great to be with these kids and be with these coaches. And last couple of weeks have been kind of lonely.
Yes, you kind of hit that crescendo, and it's like,
yeah, you're used to doing that every day after school and hanging out with the guys and everything, and all of a sudden it's over. So
I gotta imagine, and maybe I'm assuming here, but strength and conditioning off-season program, pretty good participation and whatnot there at Harper Creek.
Yes, and almost all our kids are in lifting class with either myself or Coach Converse.
Awesome.
And there's after school too, and we really encourage our kids to be 2 and 3 sport athletes.
Yes.
So we get and there'll be a lot of kids out for track. We usually get more than 60 boys out for track. And then of course with baseball and lacrosse too in the spring, and we're really trying to push wrestling a lot this year.
Okay.
A lot of the kids that aren't doing anything, get them involved in wrestling, because wrestling is,
it can tie in.
You got that right.
It can tie into football. Easy enough. Coach, real quick, on your list of your results there, what comes to mind is like your best game you guys played? Maybe not so much conditional on the score, but just something that pops in your head where you know that things clicked and
The very last game.
Okay.
We played Lumen Christi, and it was a 20-20 tie.
Okay.
We were behind 3 different times and either came back to take the lead or tie. It was a great game. There was plays made on both sides and both sides of the ball. And the time ran out. We had the ball on Lumen Christi's 39-yard line, driving to score. But looking back on it, it was like that was just an epic game to be a part of. There was plays made on both sides of the ball. Both teams were making plays. It was fun.
It sounds like it ended on a high note, at least a tie note, but at least it sounds like you're saying it all kind of came together.
It was
you're
just
getting that back and forth 4 quarters of football.
I remember talking to the side judge, and I says, "Man, this is a great football game, isn't it?" He turns on and looks at me and he goes, "This is better than most varsity games we get to officiate."
Awesome.
And so that was the last game of the year, a 20-20 tie with Lumen Christi. It was big. It was fun.
Yeah.
Proud of the kids.
Yeah. And that's the last time Christie's moving out of the conference. So last time you get a chance to go with them and to hang in there toe to toe, that's got to be a great feeling.
Well, I don't know if it's the last time or not.
Okay.
They might be our number 9 next year.
Okay. I'll be quiet.
I don't know.
Speaking of things,
we'll have
I'm
to
not
wait and see how
exactly
things work out, I guess.
Isn't that how life is? Sometimes you got to wait and see.
Yeah.
Who else? You got some names on a piece of paper there. You got any shout outs, parents, supporters, other coaches?
I really want to thank our parents, because after every game they would have snacks and drinks for the kids. I want to thank our trainer, Caitlin, because she kind of just got thrown into this last minute, because we had Brittany, our trainer, left, and we were kind of in a bind, and Caitlin just showed up, and all of a sudden she just filled some big shoes and did a great job. I really want to thank her for everything that she did for our program. I want to thank Mason Converse for giving me the opportunity to do this 4 years ago, because I kind of just stumbled into this, and it's been a great ride. I love it. And I want to thank our assistant coaches too, Ken Horton and Brian Eiler and Mike Van Sickle. They did a great job helping out, and they are the ones that usually are the X's and O's. I'm not that guy.
Gotcha.
And they take care of all that for me.
Awesome. Yeah, football truly is the ultimate team sport in terms of just it's a large group, and you really have to work together, be selfless at times, be a leader at times, and it sounds like that culture is well developed and in place at Harper Creek.
I agree.
Can we bring in Coach Nikolic real quick?
Absolutely.
For the freshman team? Can you jog in over here real quick? We got to share the microphone, but good morning, Coach Nikolic. He was the freshman coach at Harper Creek. Can you give us, we'll take, we'll say about a 2-minute run here to try to cover off a little bit of freshman football.
Yeah, we had a great year, and like Larry said, some thank yous real quick that I'd like to give shout-outs to Mason Converse for giving me the opportunity to come back and coach. I was gone for about 5 years, and this was my 5th year back, and it's truly a privilege to be able to coach at Harper Creek. And just a quick shout-out to our junior football program. As we spoke earlier, we had 240 kids out 3rd through 8th grade, which is pretty amazing.
It's unique.
You hope you keep most of those kids out throughout the years, but special thanks to the board there, Jenny and Andy Fry, Corey Ledbetter, Don Carpenter, Josh Erskine, Jessica Berner, Kathy Wickwire, Christy Ledbetter, and Emily Green.
Wow.
They put in a lot of time, and whatever they're doing, they've got the secret sauce there. So
awesome.
Hopefully that continues. And the coaches that I coach with on the freshman level, Mike McCafferty is the head coach. He couldn't be here today.
Okay.
But it's great coaching with Mike, Andy Fry, and Matt Brownell, who came on staff this year. Great group of kids. We loved working with them, and there's some good things going on now.
I bet. It sounds like you guys got them turned in the right direction, up to the pipeline, over to Coach Quick, and then back on up the year after that to Coach Mason. Sounds great.
I think so. And maybe Larry alluded to, and the other coaches alluded to, there's a lot of kids that are being moved up, and the 5-quarter rule and things of that nature. And so it's a juggling act to try to get kids, in certain spots on the field out of necessity. But kids got a lot of playing time, a lot of experience, and it was a fantastic season. And I'm excited for those kids.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate the Harper Creek coaching staff coming down here and sharing that with us this morning. Best of luck in the off-season strength and conditioning programs, and go Beavers.
Thank you. Thanks for having us, guys.
Hey, we're going to take a final break here, and then we're going to keep going. No, we are going to take a break. We're going to take a break, and then we're going to be back with Jerry Miller from Battle Creek Central. All right, welcome back. Our final coach here today from Battle Creek Central, the one and only Jerry Miller. Good morning, Coach Miller.
Good morning.
Hey, I always enjoy an opportunity to get to see you and talk here a little bit. The day has flown by with our other sub-varsity coaches. I was really we still got time to get our talk in, but I'm going to turn things right over. Right now you can recap a little bit of the Central varsity. You can touch on the JV, and the floor is yours.
Oh, man, this season was a really special season for us on the varsity level. Oh, very special season for us. Which, Coach, we've had down years, and it just feels good to get back to winning. But just like everybody else, man, you got guys just buying in, you know what I'm saying, after, being down. It just takes a special group to kind of get the ball rolling, and then other guys follow suit. And we had a great group of seniors. We had like 22.
Okay.
And we had a lot of young guys up, and they got to see those guys, how they work. And everything, it turned out pretty good. We wish we were still playing, but it turned out good.
And on that front, a great start, first game with Byron Center, right? And they make the playoffs, so quality opponent, and then you guys go on your run. And it's not unique to Battle Creek Central, obviously, but Coach Granger seemed to reference each week, we're going 1-0. I know Coach Converse. You want to kind of simplify and keep it right in front, but it seems like you guys were able to kind of keep that momentum.
And that has to be approach, and, we've been down, like, who are we to overlook anyone?
Right.
So we have to, that had to be the approach. 1-0. Let's go 1-0 this week. Let's go 1-0 this week. And that was the approach, and it worked out well for us.
Run down the other coaches here that are both on the varsity level and your sub-programs.
Obviously, Coach Granger, Coach Casey Best, Evan McCoy, Mario Brown, Mike McClinney, Reggie Hall, Michael Pettis. Oh man, we got as many coaches as a team. Ryan Payne.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did Battle Creek Central? You guys didn't have to. You didn't use the 5-quarter rule too much.
Yes.
Oh, you did. So.
Absolutely. Well, I'm glad you said that.
All right.
All right, my JV team, we are like a band of misfits.
All right.
We get guys that aren't quite getting much playing time on varsity,
Okay.
And if you're a good freshman, you come up. So we're a combination of first year football players that are sophomore level.
Gotcha.
Some varsity guys that might not be cutting it all the way and want to play.
Yep.
And young guys that's standing out.
Awesome. How about either some, we don't have to go over stats or anything, but any other thank yous on people that also helped
I just want to really just thank the Gridiron Club, the parents that help prepare the food for us every week, make sure our boys are fed, make sure they have snacks and stuff after the games. It's really a community effort to help with a great season. I just want to thank them, the parents, for being great parents.
Yeah, the support. And it's that selfless giving. It's the stuff you need to get keep the success rolling once you get it going.
Scene,
yes.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of that sub-varsity stuff. It plays a big role, and you never know what kind of impact you're having on that student's life. That could be something that really sticks with them at some point, that the seeds planted later in life. You go, man, I really enjoyed playing for Coach Miller back in the day.
And it feels good when young guys come back when they're adults and they have kids and they reference, Coach, I remember when I played for you at this point and stuff. And it does feel good.
Well, you mentioned a couple other former recent 20 years ago or thereabouts with Reggie and Evan now being back in the Bearcat family. Come on. Exactly. That's awesome.
Right. And that's when
Yeah, we was back there back in the about 20 years ago. I appreciate my opportunity.
Our age,
yeah, well, I know. You can run, but you can't hide, Coach Miller. This has been fun. I'll let you wrap up here. Give you another 22 seconds here. What do you want to say?
Oh, man, I just want to say that the Bearcats had a great season, and we're going to come back strong next year. We got a lot of underclassmen returning, and we got a 3-year starting quarterback that'll be coming back for year 4. So that always helps.
And we're going to work hard in the offseason in that strength and conditioning program, right?
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you for stopping by and joining us this week to represent Battle Creek Central. Best of luck to the Bearcats in the offseason and into next year. We will be back next week with Jack McCulley. Thank you for joining us here on Coach's Corner, WBCK 95.3 FM.